Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Also, check the daily newspaper, CascadeHoopsTalk.com, where you'll get all your daily scores and NAI men's basketball news. Also, if you prefer to get the podcast on YouTube, go to our YouTube channel, Cascade Hoops Talk. Hey, today we have from Dalton State College, head coach Alex Ireland. Dalton State plays in the Southern States Conference. Coach Ireland, he attended Collins High School in Lawrenceville, Georgia. He then attended Kennesaw State, graduating in 2012 with his bachelor's in American history. Coach Ireland then moved to North Cobb Christian School, coached under Greg Mata, tutoring 6 future NC2A Division I athletes. From 2013 through 15, he attended Valdosta State as a basketball graduate assistant, and he obtained his master's in higher education leadership. He then moved to Montez Robinson's staff at Alcorn State in 2015 before he moved to UT Martin in 2016, where he helped Coach Anthony Stewart lead the Skyhawks to a 22-13 record, a number 2 seed in the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, and in doing so, the Skyhawks tied the school record for wins in a season, the most since they had moved to Division I. Coach Ireland joined Dalton State basketball staff in 2017, and he was named head coach in July 2018 following the retirement of Tony Ingle. Welcome, Coach Ireland. Hey, I appreciate you being on.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, the first thing I want to bring up is, congratulations on being named one of 15 up-and-comers at the D2 NAI level by Silver Whales Media, part of an article they done on 50 impactful head coaches. Can you talk about that award just a little bit?
Absolutely. It was really an honor to be named alongside a lot of those guys. Not a lot of people understand, or not as many people as they should understand how many great coaches there are at the non-Division I levels. And so to be listed among those coaches, I haven't been a head coach long enough to be listed in the 50. If I was even lucky enough to be listed in the 50, but guys like Mike Helfer, who's a guy I worked for at Valdosta State, was one of the top 50 impactful non-Division I D2 NAIA guys. And to be recognized by, a group like Silver Waves, like with Ryan Silver, who runs West Coast Elite, and those guys, it's really an honor. And it's true. It's a testament, I think, to the program I inherited and the players that we've had come through our program.
Well, again, congratulations on that. Coach, I mentioned during your introduction, you worked your way, you kind of earned your stripes coaching at different levels on your journey to Dalton State. Can you talk about what drove your desire to be a basketball coach?
Sure. Basketball has just been such a big part of my life. I realized I want to be a coach at about 16 or 17. I had played for so long, and I was okay at best. But I so many of my relationships, so many of my friendships, so many of the things that the life lessons that I learned and things like that came from the game of basketball. And so I knew I wanted it to be a part of my life. I knew I didn't particularly want to do anything else. And I was pretty realistic about where my future in basketball lied. And I knew it did not lie on the court. So I kind of wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to the game, and I wanted to give back to kids that came after me that probably had a lot more potential than I had. But just wanted to be a part of it and help, and that's kind of where that desire came from. I started my first coaching job was at 16 or 17. I was a rec league coach. I coached a 13 and under team with a couple of my buddies, and then kind of fell in love with that. Fell in love with being around those kids and helping those kids and dealing with those guys, and just kind of kept going from there. That kind of solidified my desire to be a coach.
So as you worked your way through, both growing up and then, taking some of these assistant jobs, who were the key influencers upon, you as a coach, and why?
Well, there's so many. I would say the first one, which is very indirect, was I grew up a Carolina fan. So watching Dean Smith, and I'm a little bit young to watch a ton of Dean Smith, but some of the old Dean Smith games, some of the old Roy Williams stuff, which means I read a lot of the Dean Smith books and the Roy Williams books. But even like my coaches growing up were huge influences on me, and just huge positive role models in my life, and guys that I looked up to. But then just going on and working for different guys. Like I worked for Tony Engel, who was a 2-time national champion. I worked for Tony Engel as a manager, and then he hired me here at Dalton as an assistant. And so getting the opportunity to be around such an incredible coach like Coach Engel for 5 years is invaluable experience. Greg Mata, who was an assistant coach at North Cobb Christian, who was an assistant coach at Kennesaw when I was there, and then the head coach at North Cobb Christian, where I worked for a year after I graduated, was a huge influence of mine and one of my best friends in the business, and a guy I can call about anything. Mike Helfer was really good for me. I learned a lot from Coach Helfer. That was my first actual college job outside of being a manager, and to be able to do it at such a fantastic program such as Valdosta State, who has, Coach Helfer, I mentioned, was on that list of the top 50 influential coaches. He's won his regular season in the Gulf South 4 consecutive years. I mean, he's an incredible coach, and he's had an incredible history at Valdosta. And so the opportunity to learn from him for 2 years is invaluable. And then to go to Division I, to go to Alcorn State for a year, to go to Tennessee Martin for a year and get to learn and work there and see different leagues and different levels and different coaching styles and different players. And then to come back to come back home to Georgia, go to and work for Coach Engel at an NAIA school at Dalton State, and kind of see what he was able to build here in 4 or 5 years, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. And so those guys, along the way, everybody that I've interacted with has played a part in my development and impacted me, and I've taken something from somebody along the way. And so I think a big part of my development as a coach was spending time with all those guys and working for so many different programs and so many different leagues and so many different states, and just seeing the wide variety of things that can be done to win, and all of those guys successful,
Yeah.
Coach, I mentioned Coach Engel, 2-time national champion. Coach Mata's won a state national championship at North Cobb Christian. Coach Helfer is a 4 consecutive league champion. Coach Robinson at Alcorn State won Coach of the Year. In his first year, he took over a program that had won 6 games the year before and went 13-5 in his league the year we were there. Anthony Stewart at Tennessee Martin, we won 22 games in his first year as the head coach.
Wow.
And then to come back to Dalton State, where Coach Engel had won in 5 years, had won more games than any 4-year school in the state of Georgia, and more, in fact, in South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, essentially the entire Southeast. And so to see all of those guys in the different ways they do it, and to be able to take what I thought was, good and made them successful, and to be able to discard some of the things I didn't like, and to be able to kind of mold it into what works for me, I think was just invaluable for me.
So then I got to ask you a question about that. So as you went through, and you just mentioned some amazing people, but also you were at different levels. What are a couple of things that either you went to a different level and you were like, holy crap, I didn't know that existed or that happened, or something that you learned along the way that you thought, oh my goodness, this is invaluable. Can you think of a couple of instances like that?
Sure. Well, and you're right, you're 100% right, and I think that's my favorite thing about my journey, is that I was a Division I manager, I was a high school assistant, I was a Division II grad assistant, I was a Division I assistant in 2 different leagues, and then I was an NAIA assistant and head coach. And so I've seen, outside of Division III and junior college, I've seen every level. I think the first thing that I've realized, and I think I believed it the whole way, but you don't really believe it until you see it. It's so hard to win at every level. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Winning games is hard. I think when I was younger, and I think a lot of us are this way, but we watch like Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky, and you see them going 25 and whatever every year, and you think, oh yeah, you're just going to win 25 games. It doesn't work that way. Winning 25 games is hard. Winning 15 games is hard. And so just realizing the talent level at every level. And I'll kind of parlay that into my second thing. There's so many good players at every level.
Oh yeah.
There's so many good players at every level. And so like my first year at Valdosta State, we had Blake Justice, who's now the assistant there, who was he was a transfer from the University of Akron. We had Jared Leonard, who was a Bethune-Cookman transfer. We had David Murray, who was a Middle Tennessee State transfer. We had Larry Stone, who was an IUPUI transfer. We had Jeremy McKay, who was I want to say UT Arlington transfer maybe. And so, we had, and there are a couple more that I can't even think of off the top of my head. We had 7 or 8 Division I transfers. So, when you look at basketball all across the country, it's so mind-blowing how good players are. And, people are so eager to discount non-Division I or this, that, and the other. But when you realize not just the players, but the coaches that are at non-Division I, it really, really will blow your mind. And the third thing I'll say is that, winning takes what it takes at all levels. And so the best guy I've ever seen, the best guy I've ever worked for is coaching. And that's no disrespect to any other guys I've worked for. But Coach Ingle, he won a Division II national championship at Kennesaw. He won an NAIA national championship at Dalton State. And he won it in the first year the program was eligible for the national championship. So Coach Ingle restarted the program here at Dalton in 2014. So 13-14 was their first year. They went 26-4. And they were not eligible for the postseason because it was the first year they had a program. The second year, which was the first year they were eligible for the postseason, he won the national championship. He went 32-4. And he won the Southern States Conference.
That's amazing.
In his first year. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Like it's a made-for-movie type situation. By the way, he did it. Dalton is his hometown. Dalton is where he grew up. So he came back to his hometown, started the program, won a national championship. Talk about a made-for-TV.
What a storybook.
That's right. And so, to see him at different levels, and I wasn't with him at Division II, but I was with him when Kennesaw State went Division I, so he went through the transition period. To see him at Division I, and then to see him here, and see how his approach has changed, how it stayed the same. But the biggest thing, just to see the way he loved his players, just to see the way he loved the guys, the way he cared for them. To be honest with you, to see the ratio of how much he talked about basketball versus how much he talked about life, and how disproportionate it was in the favor of how much he talked about life. And just how the way he loved his players translated into how hard they played, how much they loved each other, how good they were because of that stuff is something that's really stuck with me kind of throughout my career.
So Coach Ireland, you talk about those great years there at Dalton State. What a great program since it's been restarted. Last season, Coach, a dream season, 30-3, Southern States Athletic Conference Championship, #1 seed at the National NAIA tournament. Of course, the virus hits, you don't get to play in the tournament, but what made that team last year so special? You just talked about how hard it is to win, and it is 30-3. That's amazing. Talk about that team last year.
Yeah, our group last year was so special. And it was special for a number of different reasons. The first reason I think is just because our guys loved each other so much. You would be blown away at how close our guys were last year. And as a result of that, we got in some games where we could have easily gotten beat, and they just kept playing. There was no infighting. There was no blaming. There was no, there were no quitters. They just kept playing. And so, last year we went to Campbellsville early, and we were down like 16 or 17 at halftime. We were down like 10 or 11 to 1, and they just kept playing. Bethel University in Kentucky had us beat twice, had us down 7 with under 2 minutes twice, and we ended up winning both games. And they just kept fighting. It was such a hungry group. It was such a humble group. There were no egos. They got up and worked. We practiced at 5 a.m. They got up at 5 a.m. every day and freaking worked. I can't remember one day where we threw them out of practice because they just had a terrible day. They just didn't show up, or they showed up asleep, or they just did what we asked, and they worked hard, and they loved each other, and they played for each other. And the open guy got the ball, and there were no what about me's, or there were no egos. It was, in terms of chemistry and in terms of just pure brotherhood. That team was as close as I've ever been around, and as a result, they had a lot of success.
Yeah, Coach, let's give a shout out to some of those seniors that, of course, graduated now, but we got to start with Randy Bell. 17 points, almost 5 rebounds. He was first team All-American, conference co-player of the year. Talk about Randy Bell.
Yes. Randy is one of my first recruits. So when I came into Dalton, I came in at the end of the summer as an assistant my first year. So I didn't really get to recruit a lot of those guys. So my first recruiting class was after that 17-18 year. And Randy was one of the first guys we recruited. And he's so talented. He's so naturally gifted. He's got a big body. He's long, he's athletic. But what people don't see is how tough Randy was. Randy worked like a professional. Randy was in the gym every day getting extra shots. Randy never took a practice off. Randy never took a conditioning off. Randy never missed weights. And he really kind of set the tone, or he was part of the group that set the tone for us in terms of just establishing our program as a workers program. And so when you have that kind of toughness in a guy like Randy, you're never out of a game.
So kind of a blue collar guy you're describing, huh?
100%. And he's a very confident guy. He's a very aggressive guy, but he's confident because his work ethic backed it up. And he was a guy you see at our level. You see a lot of Division I transfers. Randy never played at Division I. He played at Holy Family University, and he played at Lynn University in Boca Raton. Both of those are Division II. And then came to us and finished out his 2 years. And he just worked his butt off. He got better every year. He shot around 28-29% from the three his junior year. And correct me if I'm wrong on the stats here, but his senior year, I think he shot around 37-38 from three. And he just got better every single year, and he improved his game and improved his game and improved his game. But it all came from his work ethic. It all came from how hard he worked. And so when you see one of the most talented guys in the gym working like Randy works, it's hard not to.
Well, it pushes everybody else if they go, he's going to work that hard. I better at least keep up with him or try to keep up with him, right?
That's right. 100% right.
So you're going to miss Randy Bell, but another guy really gave you played great for you is Kevin Tucker, 16 points, almost 5 rebounds. Again, he was an All-American honorable mention, Kevin Tucker.
Yes. Kavan he's an East Tennessee State transfer. That's okay.
I apologize, Kavan. Sorry.
Don't worry. Everybody in our league butchered his name too. It was either Kevin or Kavan or Kavone or all kinds of things. So, but we always called him KT. KT is another guy, and he also helped set the tone. He's a Division I transfer, and sometimes at our level, you get Division I transfers who kind of walk in with their nose up in the air. Yep. Think that they're just going to come in and run things and do what they want to do, and they don't have to work as hard as they worked at Division I to get better results. And Kavan is exactly the opposite guy. He was up at 5 a.m. every day working. He, when he had games where he didn't shoot it well, he guarded his butt off. He rebounded his butt off. He was a leader to the guys, and he was another tone setter. When you have a guy as talented as Kavan and Randy, and they both work hard, they both come in and work hard. They both guard. They're yes sir, no sir guys, and they take coaching and they don't give you a lot of flack back. It really sets the tone for some of the other guys who go, well, shoot, if these guys are going to do it, I better too. And those two were certainly a big part of our year, and that it was kind of a pick your poison year for a lot of guys defensively, where if you're gonna run guys at Randy and take Randy away, you're gonna give Kavan shots. If you're gonna run guys at Kavan and take Kavan away, you're gonna give Randy some shots. And so those guys, as good as they were on the court, it's who they were off the court, I think, that really set the tone for us and allowed us to have the season we had.
Yeah, and that's usually the case, isn't it? Coach, there's also a couple of seniors, Jordan Young, Dawson Womack. Boy, you're going to miss them on the boards. 15 rebounds a game between them.
Yes, and I'll say I'll go kind of quickly with all of our guys because I know we have some time here, or I know we have some time constraints here. But Jordan Young is an incredible kid, incredible rebounder, just a dirty work guy. He's the type of post player that beats the guards in the sprints and conditioning. That's who he is. He works hard. He plays his butt off. Humble, and another guy that the guys just loved. And Dawson Womack the same way. I actually coached Dawson in AAU when he was 16 or 17 years old. He went to Houston Baptist as a freshman, and he kind of bounced around a little bit, and he had some things happen in his personal life. And he came to Dalton and just wanted a chance to play his last year, and could not be more grateful for what Dawson gave us. I mean, he's a guy who's as talented as any guy we had. He guarded his butt off. He was an outstanding teammate. He never once asked for a shot. We very rarely ran a play for him, but yet he went to the glass every time. He defended every time. He protected the paint every play. He gave everything he could possibly give. And as a result, I think he ended up being all tournament team for us. I thought we should have had 3 guys that were all tournament team. We only had 2, and he was huge. He averaged a double throughout the conference tournament for us. He was absolutely huge. And then the last guy was Sean Craney, the last senior that doesn't get quite as much publicity as Sean Craney, but Sean is a West Alabama transfer, and Sean was also part of that class that came in with Randy, where we ended up being 18 and 13. I thought we gave away a lot of games that we could have won. It was just it was an up and down year, and 18 wins isn't bad, but we really thought we were a 24-25 type win team. But Sean is a thinking man's point guard. He is a pure floor general, and he in a lot of ways was the leader of our group. And that, as long as Sean was on the floor, we were calm, we were collected, we knew we were going to get the right shot. I didn't have to coach every possession. I didn't have to call every play. Sean could, think through things, get the right guy the ball, read the way the defense was playing. There were a couple times like that Bethel game at Bethel where we were down 7 with 1 minute and 28 seconds where we just went high pick and roll for Sean, and about 4 possessions in a row, Sean delivered for us. That's the part that everybody sees with Sean. The part that everybody didn't see is that, Sean surely led our league in charges. But Sean played through a fractured elbow. He played through a fractured rib. He played through all kinds of knee injuries and back injuries. We actually had a point at Florida College, which is one of the tougher places to play in our league, where Sean was playing with a fractured rib, and Sean took 3 charges in the first half with a fractured rib. Wow. When you have guys that lay it on the line like that, again, it's tough for everybody not to jump on board. There's just no way. When you see a guy putting his body on the line like that, there's no way you're not going to jump on board.
And that's a momentum changer too. When you can take a charge, not only 100%. Do you get a foul, you get the turnover, you get the ball. I mean, that's a big momentum shifter there.
Oh, well, and here's the thing, Florida College is a really up-tempo team, and so they get a rebound and they push it up, or even off a make, and they push it up, and Sean is the point guard, is the first guy back. These are charges in the first half in transition. Sean could have swiped at the ball or, tried to make a play and seen if he could get a quick steal or whatever. There aren't a lot of people that are going to take charges early in the first half like that. Sean took 3 charges with a broken rib in the first half.
Oh, that's amazing.
And when that happens, when you see guys that invested in the success of your team, it's hard not to be invested. It's hard for the other guys not to go, okay, I'm going to give everything I got.
So it's obviously a terrific group of seniors. People at Dalton State College will remember that group for a long time. But Coach, better than absolutely anybody, these young men we just talked about represent 75% of your scoring and rebound from last season. So you got some work to do. This season you've been tabbed second in preseason conference polls. You're behind Loyola. You and I talked just a bit, but boy, they're really loaded. They got everybody coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Loyola, Coach Hollowell over there does an outstanding job, and they've been in the championship game 2 years in a row. The first year they won it. Last year we beat them in a really, really tough game, and they bring everybody back. So they're going to be really good. They're going to be really good again, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. I don't personally put a lot of stock into preseason rankings. Last year we were picked 5th. Faulkner, who won the regular season, was picked 6th, I think. We started the season unranked last year and ended up ranked 4th in the nation. So I personally don't put a lot of stock into preseason rankings, whatever they may be. But we do. We absolutely have our work cut out for us. And I think the first and foremost thing that we have to do is put 33 behind us. We celebrate it and we enjoy it, and we still look back and enjoy the memories of it. I mean, every now and then I'll text that group chat, from the 1920 team, and the 1920 team will text back, or they'll send a text. Javon Tucker texted everybody the other day, said, "Hey, I love you guys. Hope you guys are doing well." And so, we still enjoy that, but we put it behind us. We're not living in the shadows of that. And I realize that people may circle us on the schedule, or people may try to beat the team that finished number 4 in the country, or whatever the case may be. But, this season is this season, and last season was last season, and last season is over. And so we have a really good group of recruits, and I'm really proud of the guys that we brought in. I think they're great guys. They've worked hard. They're good players. We have a solid core returning. Obviously, like you said, a lot of our scoring is gone, but we have a solid group that's able to, perpetuate our culture and push forward the way we do things. But, this group is a new group, and it has to be treated as such. And so we're gonna be the best we can be. We're gonna play. We work hard. We're lifting weights. We're doing conditioning. We're doing workouts. We're getting ready to start practice here. And we're gonna put everything we can into this season and let this season be this season without trying to fulfill last season, because 30-3 and the things we did last year, those are things that some coaches coach 30-40 years and never happened. Yeah. And it happened to me in my second year, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm not going to let that cloud other groups. If 25 wins or 20 wins or 19 wins is the best that this group is capable of, then so be it, as long as they achieve the best they're capable of. But expecting a 30-win year every year is just not realistic, and it's only going to lead to disappointment. But just like last year, we got 30 wins, and I tell people all the time, we didn't once think about 30 wins. We didn't once think, oh yeah, we're going to win 30 games, or if we don't win 30 games, it's a failure. So to do that this year and not take each practice for what it is, not take each game for what it is, not take each lift or conditioning or workout or film session for what it is, and just try to make it the best we can is going to ultimately shortchange this group, and I don't ever want to do that.
Well, Coach, your cupboard's not completely bare. I mean, you've got C.J. Perry coming back, a senior, scored 12 points a game. Rodley Ajay, 11 points last year, and then Aaron Burris, a senior, coming back as well.
Yeah, we have really phenomenal guys coming back. And I will say this: those guys last year, even though they put up great numbers, were certainly capable of better numbers than they put up. I mean, those are guys that sacrificed for the group. C.J. Perry, Rodley Ajay are 18-point a night guys in junior college, and so for them to put up 10, 12, whatever. Rodley put up 28 twice. Rodley had a darn near had a triple double against Edward Waters right after Thanksgiving. Yeah, I think he had 28 and 10 rebounds and 9 assists or something like that. So those are guys that are certainly more than capable. But when when we had 6, I think we had 5 or 6 guys last year averaging double figures, and so there's only so many points to go around. But the biggest thing is that they know how we do. They know how we play, they know how we act, they know how we conduct ourselves and how we work, and they've perpetuated that to this new group. And so, I think like I said, I think we have a good group. I think you'll see every bit of what they did last year and more. Those are guys that have they've learned from guys ahead of them. They've learned from playing the way we play and being in our program, but they're also extremely, extremely talented young men. So I think we're in good shape. We're going to take this year for this year and make it the best it can be.
So Coach, can you talk a little bit about, just for, fans who listen to the show from around the various different conferences, talk a little bit about the Southern States Athletic Conference. How tough is it? What are the trips like? What are the bus trips like?
Yeah, absolutely. So our conference is a phenomenal conference. It's last year I think we had 4 guys in the tournament, and then 2 years ago we had four teams in the tournament. I think this year we had Loyola, we had us, we had Stillman, and we had Faulkner. So we had 4 teams again. I mean, when you get 4 teams out of a 32-team field, that's pretty extraordinary. Our league ranges a little bit all over the Southeast, but our league ranges from New Orleans to Hattiesburg to Blue Mountain, Mississippi, which is almost Memphis, and then all the way down to Tampa, Florida, and us, who's we're about an hour and a half north of Atlanta. So the trips can be pretty grueling at times. You do have some short trips. I mean, the majority of our conference trips are between 3.5 and 4.5 hours, but you do have New Orleans is an 8-hour trip. Tampa's an 8-hour trip. But it's truly a league where you don't have a night off. You truly do not ever have a night off. And, whether it's Faulkner, who was, 27-3 last year, William Carey, who was in the Final Four 2 years ago, Stillman, who's an incredible team, and Loyola, obviously, who's been picked to win our league and won our conference tournament 2 years ago. I mean, you have such parity and diversity throughout the league to where you can get beat on any given night in any given gym, and you really just have to be the best you can be every night.
Coach Ireland, I want to ask you about your basketball philosophy. I'm going to do a little different than I've done in the past. I want to ask you, starting with, offensively, do you play fast, deliberate? Do you get deep into do you crash the boards? Do you get back and defend? Just talk about what you try to achieve offensively.
Sure. Well, the biggest thing that we try to do in any given situation, we try to go into it with an open mind. And so, obviously, I don't think you would ever meet a coach in the history of coaching who would say that if you give him layups for 40 minutes that he wouldn't want to take them. Obviously, we want to score as close to the rim as we can. We want to get the highest percentage shots we can, which are typically shots that are closest to the rim. We want to put pressure on the officials and the other team to get to put us at the free throw line, where there's not in terms of points per possession and offensive efficiency, there's not a more efficient shot than the free throw in the history of basketball. And so, we want to do those things. We want to get high percentage shots and score. Now, how we do that is going to determine a little bit on kind of what we're given and what our opponents try to take away. So, for example, we played a couple of games last year where teams really try to keep you out of the middle, and they really want to force you to shoot contested jumpers. And so, we would put a lot of pressure on the rim with screen rolls and bigger guards driving at the rim and attacking the rim and force help, and therefore you're giving up corner threes or shake threes or spread threes or whatever the case may be, and you're shooting high percentage jump shots, and we're fine with that. We also had some teams last year who would sit on our three-point shooters. CJ Perry is one of them. CJ Perry, for the majority of the season, shot 48% from three. I think he made 65 threes last year and made 92 years in a row in junior college. So Kevon Tucker made 108 threes in junior college and was a Georgia Junior College Player of the Year. And so, when you face teams that kind of want to take that away and will either top lock or no catch your three-point shooters, then, we'll put a ton of pressure on the rim and make you guard us at the rim and consequently, shoot really high percentage shots and get to the foul line and score at the rim. So, our motto last year was that, we will score however you want us to score. If you are going to make us beat you shooting open jump shots, no, not contested, fade away, fall away jump shots, but open jump shots, we will beat you with open jump shots. And if we miss those, we will go get them off the rim and lay them in. If you want us to beat you in the paint, whether it's throwing it into our post guys or you think you can guard us off the dribble and you want to take away the 3-point shot, then we're fine doing that as well. And so, we offensively, we want to get the highest percentage shot we can, and a lot of times that just depends on kind of what the defense is determined to take away.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, obviously.
Yeah, and so the one thing we don't want to do, we don't want to bail guys out. We don't want to shoot early bad shots. Now, if CJ Perry gets an early one in the shot clock, well, he might not get that good of a look for the remaining 28 seconds of the clock, so let it fly. But we try not to force things. We're not, and a lot of good programs are this way. Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots is famous for being this way. We're not going to force things. If you're going to load the paint, I'm not going to try to drive it through 3 or 4 guys in the paint and get charges and turnovers and get the ball stripped out. If you're going to take away 3-point shooters, then we're not going to try to spend the whole possession running guys off screens to get those guys shots when you're not helping on drives to the paint. And so, if teams won't get back, if teams don't want to get back, if teams are really good at crashing the boards and we have a chance to run out and get layups early in the shot clock, we'll take them. But if not, we'll execute and we'll use the majority of the clock and we'll score that way too.
So let's go to the other side of the ball. What about defensively? Do you prefer a strong man-to-man, try not to switch? Do you play a matchup? Just talk about, how you defend and what do you try to take away? Sure.
And we're similar defensively, but we're more of a man-to-man program. That's just kind of been the bedrock of what we do. And frankly, last year we didn't have a lot of teams that forced us to to switch to a zone or a different style of defense. But the biggest things, we want to take away transition baskets. That's the first and foremost thing. We're not giving up transition baskets. We're not going to, we offensive rebound. We send 3 guys to the offensive glass, but we have 2 guys back, and we're going to make sure if you score against a set defense. We're going to protect the paint. We pressure the ball. We don't let the ball – we try to cut down vision on the ball handler. We try to cut down his ability to survey the floor and find other guys and make him a little bit uncomfortable, but we're also going to protect against the drive. And, if you want to throw the ball backwards towards half court in a non-penetrating pass, that's fine. We'll give you that, and we'll stay in front of you, and we'll still protect the paint. But we're not going to give up transition layups. We're not going to give up drives. We're not going to give up paint penetration to where you're getting to the free throw line or you're shooting high percentage shots. And then, obviously, nowadays with the prevalence of the three-point shot, we're going to run guys off the three-point line. And so, we're a big multiple effort team, and that's what we preach to the guys every day is, anybody can sit in the paint and stop the drive and then look at the shooter when they kick it to your man. But to be a good player, to be a truly great player, you got to do both. Great players do both. And so, we're going to try not, obviously you try not to give anybody anything, but
take it all away.
That's right. But the reality of life is it doesn't work that way. The reality of life is in order to take something away, you have to give up something else. But, we do the best we can. The biggest things we harp on and the biggest things we look at when we go back and evaluate ourselves defensively. Did we give up transition buckets? Did we pressure the ball? Did we protect the paint? Did we contest jump shots? Now, teams are going to make them. You have really good shooters these days, and you've got some guys that are going to make some contested jump shots. But did we contest them? More often than not, the better the contest you have, the fewer you're going to make. And then did we give up second chance points, or did we get the offensive rebound? We weren't the biggest group last year. I mean, we had 1-6-7, 6'6", 6'7" guy at a time. But we had big guards. A lot of times we played 4 guards. A lot of times we played Randy and Kavan and CJ together. So you had 3 6'4" guards, and then whoever our point guard was, whether it was Sean or Rodley or at times Randy. But, we were a really good rebounding team, and that helped us. Bethel is a top 3 rebounding team in the nation, and Loyola is a top 3 rebounding team in the nation. We played Loyola twice and had 51 rebounds twice. Shawnee State, 10-6-11 in the post. That's how they started. 1-6-10, 1-6-11. And, we had 21 offensive rebounds. We out-rebounded them by 21, and we had 51 rebounds total. And so just through our sheer determination to rebound and our focus on rebounding, we were able to out-rebound bigger teams and teams that statistically were better rebounding teams. So that's kind of what we break it down to. And then, we'll throw in a matchup zone every now and then. We'll throw in a press every now and then. We'll run and jump every now and then. But no matter what defense we're in, that's what we come back to. It's always transition, pressure the ball, protect the paint, contest shots.
So, Coach, to kind of wrap up, talk to us about, what's it going to take for Dalton State to have a good season? What do you see as the keys this year for you?
Like any year, I would say that, the biggest key is that you play together. You always want, no matter how talented you are, and I think any coach who's listening to this can immediately think of a team that vastly underperformed their talent because they either didn't play hard, they didn't play together, they were selfish, they didn't love each other. So the biggest thing is that our new guys and our old guys have to gel. And we have to come together for a common cause and care more about our team than we do ourselves. And that was the beautiful thing about last year is we had guys like CJ Perry that could have averaged 18, 19, like Rodley J that could have averaged 18, 19, like Randy and Kavan that could have averaged 25, 30. But they did whatever the team needed, and that's why we were able to be successful. So that's the biggest thing. The basketball stuff takes care of itself. We're going to work hard. We're going to teach. We're going to learn. We're going to be in shape. We're going to lift. But like in a year, the team has to be more important than the individual. And we do a lot of talking to our guys about just loving each other, just being good teammates and being good brothers and understanding the value of the guy next to you. What was really special about last year's team is that the guys would learn from each other throughout the year. So, Kavan Tucker was a spinner. He spun. And when he would drive, he would spin off guys. And next thing you know, you look up and Randy Bell spinning like Kavan and Sean Craney spinning like Kavan. And, Sean Craney would drive and look left and pass right. And next thing you know, Randy's doing the same thing. And then Kavan's doing the same. And so they all, they didn't just grow from workouts and from practice and being taught by the coaches and being lectured by us. They grew from each other. They learned from each other. They trusted when each other told them stuff, and they trusted each other enough to share information and not hoard it in case, what if I teach that guy this and he ends up being better than me and playing more than me? We didn't have those worries last year. And so the way this group comes together and the way they bond is going to be the biggest thing for us, and seeing how far we can go. Because I like our talent. I think we're a talented group, but there's so many more factors than talent that are going to determine how our season goes.
Well, Coach Ireland, I really appreciate you giving us all this time. Really enjoyed talking to you. Want to wish you the best of luck this season. I'm hoping during the season, if you're willing, be able to get you back on, I hope.
Yeah, I'd love to. We have plenty of long bus trips in the SSAC where we could easily do one.
Well, one of the things we did last season was we did some, if there was a big game coming up, try to get a hold of both coaches before. And I'd like to do a bit more of that. Once the season starts, it gets hard for me too because I travel a lot. But But I appreciate, again, you taking all this time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on and share our program and share our league and the things that we've been able to do and learn from you and learn from other coaches in the country. So I really appreciate you taking the time to put out your podcast and to get all these great coaches and share all this great information because it's truly invaluable.
Thank you, Coach Ireland.
Absolutely. Thank you.